This is the half. We're gonna maybe get some witchy shit in here because we've been talking about coronavirus and fucking.
God forbid we have more than an hour-long conversation. Fuck.
I'm not even sure it's possible to edit towards an hour. Or if that should be a goal, even if it is a goal, I can definitely make a list about it and we can stay on. We can
Make
call
sure
it
you
the
put it
Virgo,
in your fucking organizer, so that way we know that shit gets done.
the Virgo hour, where it's like, this is broken up into 15-minute increments, but design. Welcome.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Do you want to talk about some witchy shit right now?
Yes, girl,
Yeah,
I do.
you know,
We've been talking about the state of this world for too long. Let's talk about some witchy shit.
Yeah, and so if you're watching this, like and share this video so more people see it, okay? I haven't been doing that much, and so, you know, it's just my Leo moon is like, come on, share this shit.
We love you, Jen.
We love you. We love you guys. So yeah. So what is which business for you this week, or what are you
Oh my God. So this week I have, actually, you're going on my website this week too. I have a few other teachers that are coming into play to do the online teaching. So I'm on my website updating their bios and pictures and all that stuff. And then I get to the events to load some events, and the RSVP button is taking people right to a thank you, instead of letting them RSVP with their fucking information with the registration form. So I'm like, no, what the fuck? Yes. I'm like thinking to myself, is it fucking Mercury retrograde all over again? You know?
We just yesterday was the ending of the post shadow. Oh, my friend.
Maybe that was it then. I'm hoping that was it.
It's the same stuff. So right. It's the same stuff over and over.
I'm hoping that was it. So today I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to try and reload the app and reload the events and make sure that it works. And then, you know, whenever I get lost doing this, I just turn on YouTube and I search for what I'm looking for. And I have to say, YouTube has all the information.
Honestly, it's so amazing. No one should ever be like, hey, how do you do this? It's like,
YouTube.
We fix cars that way.
Dude, my husband went online to figure out why our dryer was broke, and some YouTube videos showed him how to take it apart, check a couple things. Turns out it was the turny thing, the rubber, the belt. It was a belt.
The belt, yeah.
That was rubber thing, right? And so he totally fixed it. Now my dryer works. $8.50, girl, because of YouTube.
Honestly, that's amazing. Well, this is the economy that we're in right now. When you talk about like the ability to create value, like so many people can share what they're doing, and like it's of value to people. I love it. I love the time we're in. It's this Aquarian.
It's a turny thing. It's a turny thing. That's you know the fucking thingy Bob I'm talking about.
Totally do.
So I am working on my website, and I am preparing for April 22nd, second launch of the Path of the Moon. And
April 22nd, guys, the Path of the Moon. What is the Path of the Moon?
It is a journey of witchery. So it's a full year of learning how to, learning the history of witchery. And it's we don't practice a religion in it. We practice magic, and we practice history, and we practice a lot of meditation. I teach a lot of meditation in it, because if you all know about being a witch and really connecting with the earth and things like that, it is through meditation. It is through chakra work. It is through all of those things. Exactly. So that is a huge part of this first year. And so it's a 3-year process. And then at the end of that 3 years, you are high priest or priestess, and you then take the Path of the Moon tradition wherever you want to take it and start your own gig if that's what you want to do. So
love it.
Yeah.
I
So
love it.
this year it's all about, the beginnings. And I believe to learn spells and learn practice all of that stuff, you have to completely know as much history as you possibly can. So
Yeah.
that way you can respect the ancestors. You have to know about karma. You know what I'm saying? You have to, I teach a lot about energy work too, because you have to know what energy you're putting out there when you're doing a fucking spell.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people are like, oh, it's the second weekend. I want to do spells. I want to do spells. And I'm like, and so
Careful
I
there, sister.
right. And so I've had to say, look, if that's what you want to do, um, I am totally fine with you finding another instructor, because that's not how I teach. And I
Yeah.
cannot, with my conscience, I cannot send a student out into the world not knowing what repercussions may come from doing a binding spell, or
Yeah.
what repercussions may come from calling in rain. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't fucking do that. And so it takes, like, second year, yes, you're learning how to write spells, you're learning how to create magic. But first year, you are learning how to create that magical connection within you. And you're really learning about your intuition. And
Yes.
you are finding out about how magical of a being you really the fuck are. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I think that, and that's kind of a teaching an ego too, because when you find that out, what are you going to do with that power? Are you going to be like, I'm fucking all powerful? Or are you going to be like, okay, so now I'm understanding me, I'm understanding my power, I'm
Yes.
understanding the, dare I say, light side, and I'm also understanding the dark side. And now, because I understand both, I can walk down that gray path. And
Yes.
so that's what I'm trying to get people to, well, that's what I'm teaching, is for people to
Yes.
find that balance and to walk that between path.
Yeah. So yeah, like when this lights me up so much because I, and we've talked about this, but I truly came, I mean, I did research when I was really young. I was always drawn to learn about what witches and, were, how they were seen from society, and, part of me thinks in a lot of ways, I've always been kind of a rebel. I'm definitely a rebel. So like I came in wanting to kind of see all the edges, like periphery edges of where society can. And so from the center, and this came up, I've been learning from a teacher of astrology. But anyway, so, when you're at the center, there's certain things that you see and that believe and that you have access to. You move a little towards the edges, and all of a sudden you can see what's on the other, like the
Yeah,
down from the cliff. You can
yeah,
see the periphery is where, and I think, and that's where, terms like hedge, which I think kind of came into play, but even more so, like the practice of becoming aligned in understanding your own body as an instrument. Like when people say, oh, I need these tools, I need all this stuff. Not that that's not fun and beautiful and makes a beautiful altar and you need to know how to use them. But
but
yeah,
you don't need it.
the first, you don't need it.
Yeah,
The first awakening that I think I had in my adulthood of recognizing how powerful I was, and was when I recognized the intentions that I set and how I showed up, the frequency I was, which is it's frequency slash what's other words for that, like the I mean the intention,
the
setting
intention
intention.
is the main key here. What is
Yeah.
your intention?
And then really being honest about that. So you have to know
Yes,
yourself well enough to know that I'm being honest about my intention.
right. And
And then
you have to know yourself well enough to yes, be honest about your intention, but also acknowledge, okay, I should not be doing this, or
right.
okay, let me think of a way that I could go about this differently, or
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So
yes, I do. I do.
you have to become your own critic, I guess, and be
There's
honest about
there's that watcher piece, which is why meditation is not just useful, but
it.
absolutely
Necessary.
necessary. Because if you
Mhm.
haven't created a relationship with the watcher within, because we are not our emotions, we are not our thoughts,
No,
we are not those things.
that's all right.
The drama of the ego is the attachment. And this is, you
That's right.
can you want a quick course in it, listen to A New World or The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. He is,
I love him,
one of the best teachers. I think he talks about the pain body, the way that we dramatize and attach ourselves to our truth, right? The reality. It's like, oh, and it recognizes that circumstances are neutral, your thoughts about it are not, and that creates your feelings. So if you want to change,
and that also sometimes creates your reaction instead of action, it creates reaction.
That's right. And your ability to respond from what I would consider a high priestess mentality is catching it.
Yeah. Oh,
you catch that. Don't respond. You don't throw it right back. You catch it and you say, wow, what's this? And
and you're like, let's sit with this for a minute, figure out what this is what is this exactly? Figure out how I'm feeling about it, but then why am I feeling that way? Am I feeling like I'm getting attacked? And if I'm feeling that way, it's probably this person that feels that way about themselves on the inside and is kind of taking it out on me because somehow I'm mirroring that same thing. So now what do I do? So now what do I do? Not only to heal that within me, but to help that other person acknowledge and maybe want to heal that within them as well.
And that comes from that back to self-reflection. And Brené Brown is really good at talking about how this gets done in society because she's a social researcher that talks about, so then she would say, when you feel that, and you can feel that it's out of alignment, what happens? The ego will come and try and rescue and be like, spin this drama like, oh, look what they did to you. Look how they're treating you. You better push a boundary. They've boundary violated you. What is, and you can get all spun up by this crazy situation. And then what actually I find is very useful to say, like you say, what is here? What is right here? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling attacked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's that piece of, knowing yourself. When was the first time that I felt this way? Oh, if you know that the first time you ever felt that way was in 5th grade when Marty Flint tripped you and fucking laughed in your face because you hurt your ankle, listen. And then, the first time, whatever, there's these trigger points you can relate to.
Yes.
You know yourself enough to say, oh yeah, that's that trigger again. That happened. Okay. But right now, I'm going to lean in and I'm going to ask what's real.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
I'm going to ask what's real, and I'm going to be adult enough. I'm going to be, and not to say you have to, confront people with their shit, right?
No.
It's not your job.
It's not our place to do that. Yeah.
But it's one of those where, hey, I'm making this mean this. And this is what Brené Brown says, when you lean in and you say, I just made this whole story up when you told me okay only in your text.
Yeah.
And
what did you really mean by that?
Yeah. I had an expectation of you being really excited about this thing I shared, and you just said okay. And what I'm making that mean is that you don't care about what I'm doing.
Yes.
And then, then that person gets to say, well, yeah, you're right. I don't care about what you're doing. Or more likely they say, and then
I was doing the dishes. I just didn't have time to make a big response. You know what I mean? So we do. Yeah. We do have to check in with ourselves like that. And the one thing that is extremely hard for people is to not only learn how to check in, honestly, but to receive the truth about what's really going on without it's almost like you have to have the courage enough to go into that dark inside of you, into that mother's womb again, to heal all those past hurts. But before you heal those hurts, you have to acknowledge the truths that you've locked behind those doors in your head, And so my classes teach that as well. Like you can't move forward until you release. And this is a lifelong process, this releasing. It doesn't just happen during one meditation session. You know what I mean?
No, it's an onion.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And it's a process and a practice that you have to continually be working on. Yeah. And when those,
oh, wow, all the layers, look.
Right. And when those truths come to you, and this part of you are releasing, you also have to carve out time for yourself to mourn and say,
Yeah.
you know what? I am yes, and people also need to forget, yes. But
Forgiveness
forgiving
is
is not just about forgetting. Forgiving, to really forgive, you have to acknowledge that hurt. You have to acknowledge it, and you have to release it yourself. And then
yeah.
you can fully forgive. So, take that time to mourn what you have released, because in a way it got you to where you are now. And whether
Yeah,
that
you
be
put
good, bad, or
on
indifferent.
armor. I
Yeah.
put on armor when I was very young to protect myself, and thank God that I did.
Yes.
That was their wisdom, right? That was my wisdom to, and yes, I still have to deal with my dissociative habits.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, right now that's shown to me. How do I associate? How do I, and um uh Lady Tara Bra, Lady Rara Bra, I love it. Says, do you guys think this isolation period is forcing people to look at the layers and truths because they weren't listening before?
I fucking hope so. I fucking hope so.
If
And I
that's
don't,
not
of
how you
course, I
spend
don't
some
say
of your
that.
time.
Yeah, of course, I don't say that negatively. I say that with all love and all,
I mean, this
because
is a time.
you have to fucking look at them before you release and fucking heal. You have to.
Yes. And the willingness, like showing up for yourself in this way, by the way, like you get lighter. Like I think people think because the pain body and because the ego wants to say, no, you know what, you're made up of your wounds. You know what, you need them. You need your victimhood. That gets you attention. It gets you empathy. It gets you connection with people. When you
Yep.
go to a grieving space, not to say that these spaces aren't useful, but when you go into, say, a 12-step program or something of a recovery, or you go to that funeral and everybody's kind of in it, right? They're in the trauma of losing something, and this is an outward, it's a macrocosm that can be a microcosm, right? So if you're
Yes.
in a room of your parts, right, and you're like, I'm looking at my 12-year-old self and I'm like, I love you. And the way you dealt with this is not, it's not how you shouldn't have changed that. It was great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a better way. Do you want to come with me and see that better way? There's meditations that are so wonderful with this. There's one in the Goddess Oracle book, actually, that I do at Circle. I've done it at Circle. I think it's Bladaiwith, who was the flower goddess. She was betrothed to some dickhead, and which is a whole thing. And then they turned her into a flower in order to protect her. And then I'm totally butchering this fucking story right now. Anyway, so she was plucked as a flower, like a maiden, right? Given to the guy. And then her dad, she was so unhappy. Her dad turned her into an owl. Anyway, so she's like one of those triple goddesses.
Yeah.
And the meditation in here, it has Bladaiwith come to you, and she takes you to a movie screen, and she asks you to show her a time when you were betrayed, right? It's that core wound of betrayal.
Yep.
And you show yourself that movie as you are now. So you're standing with Bladaiwith, you're watching the screen of this movie. I'm getting chills because I've done this a couple of, because it's not just once that maybe you need to do this.
Oh God, no.
This time when you've been betrayed, and then you physically back it up, you rewind it, and then you as an adult are given permission to step in to the screen, and you stand between, I'm gonna cry, you stand between that person who betrayed you, and you stand up for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. It's amazing how when we do not only past this life work, but past life regression work, it's amazing how many time fathoms we can heal. You know what I'm saying? And whenever we do something like that, we also heal for the future, for our loved ones that are growing up underneath us. You know what I mean? So it is not an easy thing to do. It is not an easy thing to do, but shadow work, and I will never stop saying this, is one of the most fulfilling things that you can do, because you find your inner light in that shadow work, and you learn how to love yourself with all of your fucking cracks and flaws and all of that stuff.
Yeah. You know? Well, and when you can stand there with yourself, knowing you did the best you can, and yet you know better now. Like, there's this beautiful thing, cue my daughter, where, you know, you get to actually have. Hi, what's up? What? Investigator. Oh, will you ask Seth to help you? Yeah, and say pretty please, because mom's on a live. See how that goes. She's gonna come back in 2 minutes like he said now. But no, there's definitely this lightness of being that comes from doing the shadow work. And it's not to say that you don't have to get rid of it or dispel it.
No.
You have to accept and love it.
Exactly.
You have to love that
because it's all part of you. It's all part of who you are and your making. And if you can't love yourself wholly and completely, who the fuck can?
Yes. Evelyn?
He only heard me say Seth, and then he said I'm doing stuff, and didn't even let me talk the rest of my sentence.
I know it feels hard to be not heard. Can you tell him that I need him to help you? Say, Mom needs you to help me right now. See if that helps him understand.
Say, Mom said help me, or I'm taking away the electronics for the week.
Right? I know where the show valve is.
And then your son would be like, that's fine. That means no school.
The Wi-Fi password. I need to pick. I've got my hand on the button.
Oh my God. Are you sure you want to play that Xbox? Because I'm going to turn that shit off. No.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in giving my kids things so that if necessary, they can be taken away.
Oh, fuck yes. Oh, yes, girl. Yeah.
No, mostly I don't punish my children like in a traditional sense at all. But they have to help each other. It's like, please just help each other. Like, please help each other. I'm like, I can't be your answer always because I'm not going to always be here. That's kind of.
Well, you're not going to always be there because sometimes you hide in the bathroom.
Or right now I've set my office up in my son's bedroom because we don't let him have a computer in his room. He's 15. So we put the computer out in the main room where everybody hangs out, but then now my office is in his room.
Oh God.
It's what it is. It's
so working from home. So what kind of witchy things are you up to this week, Love Butt?
Yeah. So I have been I spent a lot of February researching. I've been, I did the Tarot Collective course last year, which is what I think you're putting onto your classroom.
Right. And if you have new dates for that, you need to let me know those. I have it as March 22nd. So
what's happening with that is it's going evergreen. So it can be gone in, and I have it dripped out. So I created an automation in MailChimp and drip out every week the content. I've shifted it so there's no more like live weekly classes. It's really, I have videos that I did for the classroom, and then you have a workbook that comes out and you get that on a Monday, right? And then there's tons of live videos. Well, tons. There's 3 per week of live videos. And then in the Facebook group. So I have a Facebook group that you get put into as well. So there's interaction in that way. It's a great course. It's fantastic. There's tons of people in the collective group. And when you post there, like I'm there and I'm commenting, I'm sharing, different stuff. So So it's alive in that way, but I've shifted focus because, you know, I get bored. And let me just be really honest that I taught this 3 times and I'm ready to kind of move on. One of the things that I have been wanting to teach, and a lot of my clients have reached out to me, is astrology. And so, but it's such a huge, deep thing.
And then astrology is that's forever. You continuously learn throughout your entire life. And you and I were discussing, we're like, if you start teaching astrology, I mean, you are advanced in it. So to teach a beginner course in astrology, you're like, I don't even know where the fuck to begin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like, so I had to go back to the beginning and think, well, what is, so I bought Chani Nicholas's book, which talks about the 3 keys in your chart. And I read through that. I picked up this book, which is amazing. It's called The Book of Houses, which really talks about the harvest cycle. And then all of a sudden, like everything clicked in. And I've been personally, and this is, you know, I've been studying shamanic astrology.
Oh, that's nice. Good.
So, and then I've been studying astroherbalism as well. So astrology and herbalism together. So anyway, I've got this whole research that's deepening my practice of astrology and my wisdom of astrology and all of that, whatever.
Because that's what you focus on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nerdiest part of my being. I love astrology. So, and not to say I love tarot, right? But I think learning to read tarot is just learning to be intuitive.
Yes. But the one thing that you've also done is you've deepened your tarot with your astrology.
Yes.
So you've added those tools together, which is awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my readings, and I have a reading that I'm doing tomorrow for a client. You know, I haven't been taking many readings because I've been working on this new program. Because I'm creating a monthly subscription membership kind of thing where if you want to learn astrology, you want to pick apart your natal chart. I've been creating a template and rubric. So like, and I'm a design freak too. I love fonts and shit like that. So I've been designing the templates and the workbooks so people can learn to look at and use astrology for healing. Like that's the basic. And so I thought I'd have to promote it. I figured out like a base level, and I'm doing like one-on-one coaching for 5 people, and I'm waiting on one yes or no. So I might have 1 spot left, but basically it's like 4 coaching calls where I work out the kinks with this program so that when I go forward and offer it as the pillar of that membership, then I know it works, not just with me, but with others and that kind of thing. So that's what I've been working on and trying to figure out what the best, you know, do I do another Facebook group for that group part of it? Do I create an app?
That's what makes it
part on my site. Do I just like take away and use the Ritual Collective? You know,
but see, I get where you're going with that, because like I'm thinking about doing the same thing, especially app wise, you know, and I've already made my website app so people can go on and sign on and be members on that app, and they get special things, which reminds me, I forgot to do one yesterday. But no, I get you. And the one thing that we always have to remember is things are ever changing.
Yeah.
So the fact that we say, okay, you know what, I might want to get rid of these 5 Facebook groups and just make this one thing with maybe those study courses separate in them. I forget what they're called on Facebook. Make the units in one. And people, we have to understand that this shit takes a lot of fucking time. And so when we're trying to update 5 different groups and then update the website and then build a course, design the course, all that stuff, it takes a lot of time. So I completely agree with you that the changing of the website, the changing of the Facebook groups, I completely agree with you that we have to condense to make it easier for us, but building that condensing takes time, you know, so it all just takes time. But once we finally get it made and figured out which way we want to go, then we can flow with it, you know?
Well, and you know, my big question is where are people wanting to show up? You know, I think more and more people are, you know, not necessarily engaged. I have a few groups that I think people are engaged in. People still go to Facebook, you know,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people that don't.
A lot of
And
people are not members of Facebook anymore. Yeah.
yeah,
It's pretty much Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
yeah, and I want it to be something that people feel in ease about. And part of it is like, you know, I always think about community building and wanting it to be collective sharing. And because, you know, yeah, I'm guiding the course and I'm the host of this vessel and I'm putting forth my translation of everything. But that doesn't mean that anyone who comes in is gonna fucking have gems to share with everyone.
Exactly.
And that's why I created the Tarot Collective like I did and put because if you go through the threads in that group, and it's a private group, you have to be one of my students to be in it, but it's like you go through that thread and there are really beautiful, insightful translations of different cards and different you know, suits and elements
because
and all this stuff.
people read them differently.
Yeah.
When you read the cards, and one of our listeners said they used to do the cards, but that was not their thing. So then they started doing runes.
Which is
But
awesome.
when you start working on the cards, if you've never worked on the cards, the one thing that you're going to do is question the fuck out of yourself on whether or not that goes hand in hand with the book, right? And so what I tell my students is throw the fucking book away. You don't need the goddamn book. We're going to learn what the colors mean, what the mountains versus hills mean, what the rain versus rivers mean, what the ocean mean, all of that on the artistry of those cards, because that is what takes you into that intuitive side of what those cards mean. And not only that, you cannot rely on a set definition of what the card means. Now, when you look at the elements and the time of year and things like that, that's different. Get it? But if you are solely okay, what does the book mean? You're never going to fucking learn, because one of the things that you're doing as you're reading these cards is building that intuitive connection and realizing how intuitive you are.
Yes.
So stop questioning it.
And listening to that, like the day I keep the books, but
I keep the books too. I just don't refer to them.
Don't throw away your books, no.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said for, I mean, when I read for myself, sometimes I will check the book and say like, well, what is this artist?
That's because we are so over analytical.
So I will, and there are certain artists that, I mean, especially nowadays, there's so many tarot decks. This one that I got, this Light Seers Tarot, is my newest deck that I bought for myself and as a gift to myself. And the artist and writer is very poetic and beautiful, and she's got lovely takes on it. So I know, you know, what I mean, what the cards mean to me. She's got new images, so I let that evoke emotion in me. But then I love to hear what she says because they're little pep talks. So when I read for other people, you know, I'm that translator. And I take permission from the people who ask me to read for them to be the translator of these cards. So I don't, you know, and you know, aside from when I pull oracle cards, there are times, I mean, I will read straight from the book because oracle
cards are different.
They're very different. So let that be said. But because artists who make the oracle cards are really, it's their own, you know, it's their
own interpretation.
It's their mind on what happens. So yeah, I love that. But it's interesting where, you know, where you can kind of remember, and back again to the work you're teaching, and it's core elemental work in what I'm teaching too with the Tarot Collective. It's like you go inside, you do a heart-centered practice, you learn to connect here.
Exactly.
And you clear the channel, you know, and do whatever it takes to do that. And by the way, after you do it a bunch of times, it can really happen very quickly.
Yes.
In the beginning, you may want to have a certain stone that you hold, or a candle that you light, or something, you know, or the lighting just right, or something that really gives you a cue. It's all those cues. You know, it's just like writing an affirmation on something so that when you walk by it, you see it. It's the, you know, it's the altar work. It's like, I'm going to put the altar somewhere where I see it. So I remember the intention set with that work. And so when you have yourself as a divining rod, you just have to calibrate yourself before going into the work. And that's the number one thing that all of every work that I do, you know, any circle that I lead, I always start with that, because even when we go to listen, you know, and I'm reminded of that right now, it's like, even as we go to listen, it's like, where am I?
Yeah. Is my mind, am I here? Am I in this moment right now listening to this? Or am I thinking about, oh, I got fucking all this shit to do? You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you have to connect, you have to ground.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that you have to make your mind quiet, because that is fucking impossible. But you have to tell those,
mercurial people,
right? You have to tell those thoughts, hey, I see you, but I choose to do this and be in this moment right now. This is what I'm choosing. You know what I mean? Because it's all about fucking choice, you know?
Yeah.
And
those thoughts can be little somethings too. It's interesting what thoughts come in. It's like, you know, and to have a practice of watching your thoughts and say, oh, that's the future. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the past. Okay.
Yes.
You know, and allow your brain to just kind of get into your brain will do what it's asked.
Yes.
It is you know, the brain is what is that? There's a really lovely quote. That's like, it's a beautiful tool and a terrible master. You know? And so it goes back to, it's like asking those good questions. It's like, how can I get really centered today? And your brain will like, well, let me work on that.
Yes.
You know, all of a sudden,
but it's calling to the forefront those questions. And before you can do that, you have to work on the acknowledging of, okay, this is me. I love me. I love me. And it's okay to love me. And I deserve love. All of those things. You know what I mean? It's the things. It's a lot of things, Jen.
And some days it takes you maybe more time, and it's just like, I don't have 10 minutes to meditate, so I better meditate for an hour, right? Like, if you have a lot to uncover and unshed, you might hit the same wall a bunch of times and think, I can't even hear myself.
Yes.
I can't hear my intuition. And, you know, there are blocks that people have. I think that's one of the biggest things that people come into this work with is wanting to, but like you say, they want to go straight to, well, what's a spell for unblocking this, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's no spell for this. Well, there is. It's literally within you.
Exactly. And the one thing that I do teach, I have to stop saying that. The one thing that I do teach is, especially with the chakra work, we go through the 7, or I like to take them through the 9 main ones, but my year-long class that's coming up, we have like 15. Yeah. And we have even more, but I take them through 15. Yeah. So one of the things that I do teach is how to acknowledge each one of those chakras. What's going on? Is it going too fast? Is it going too slow? Is it blocked? Is it closed? Is it open? Is it sick? Because you have to be able to, first of all, know where they are, know what they do, all of those things, you know. And so it is a process. Getting in touch with yourself, connecting yourself to above and below is a process, and it's a practice. But if you continue to practice it, all you have to do is this, and you're boom. You know what I mean?
It's a tuning fork, so you can you can strike it. But and some days you're like, ooh, yeah. And if you know the centers, you can quickly get to where the block is, and you can then access some of the movement and say, okay, I'm activated here. I'm really blocked in my solar. Like, it's blocking certain things.
But you have to know,
how is that serving me right now? How is that protecting me right now? You know, and ask yourself. So, and then, I mean, for me at least, I'm a very visual kind of dreamer. So, you know, an image will often come up, and sometimes you think that's a thought. It's interesting how, you know, I mean, everybody's got their own intuition coming in a distinct way for them, right?
Yes. One that they can understand. Yes.
And sometimes, you know, people, you know, I'm definitely a verbal processor. I speak out loud. It helps me to process things. So my internal dialogue sounds a lot like mind chatter, I would assume, to some other practitioners. but what I've turned my watcher into, or at least this verbal processor into, is like my own inner guru. Like she knows all the things that I've read and integrated, and the shadow work I've done. She's been with me.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I like my inner elder, and I ask her to be with me when I'm doing that clearing, so that she can say, remember, this is why you shut down your heart. This is why you did this. This is why all the things. And so sometimes it looks like, you know, on a really rough day when you've got 0 spoons, you know, when you're like, this is a rough day. I woke up feeling like this. I'm not sure where I'm at, and I need to do some work. I need to get on the side of it.
Yes.
It's like so you know, you go inside, you grab that elder's hand, and I have a body protector. You know, I did a really beautiful shamanic journey with a witch who, you know, asked us to go find our body protector, and mine, you know, came out of a trash heap from Fraggle Rock, you know, and she was beautiful white elephant with, you know, and I hennaed her and I got on her and I kind of like melded into the top of her body. And so I take her with me when we go on, you know. So once you do this work, once you have this inner work, you have other allies. You know, the allies that can come. And I never was somebody who was like, these are my spirit guides. These are, you know, I really never was comfortable with that language until probably up to a year and a half ago, maybe. And recognizing that that's what was happening.
Yeah, that's exactly what they are. Exactly what they are.
And so, and even further, you know, it's like, have you given them names? You know, or what do you call them
have
by?
Have they told you their name?
Have they told you their names? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so my yeah. So I'm not going to tell my names, but but it's one of those where it's like, oh yeah, and then the light of recognition that happened for me when I learned the name of my body protector was like a whole new meeting. And a whole new connection and a whole new level of that. And even just right now, she's like,
it became a new playing field for you, didn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And so I don't do these things alone, even though it's my own self. And I think a lot of us, you know, we get told, you know, oh, that's imaginary, it's not real, you know, that's weak, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And
exactly.
I had to uncover a bunch of that reality bullshit. That was part of my shadow work was, you know, this reality bullshit.
Well, because sometimes we want to listen to those external naysayers about it, because it's easier to do that than to face, am I crazy? You know what I'm saying? Is this stuff really real? Should I believe it? Because if I believe it, they're definitely going to put me in the loony bin. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So to really acknowledge that and say, you know what, I am going to believe in these spirit guides because they fucking rock and they know me inside out and they've never dealt me wrong. I'm believing in them, and fuck you. You know what I'm saying? You go naysay over there. You're just not fucking woke yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a big thing to do that.
The more that work has come in, it's like, and then the feeling of grace for myself is more accessible. I think, you know, you can get out of your own way a lot better if you decide that your intuition is real.
Yes.
And I think it's a decision we have to make in these times, because like you say, everybody's naysaying. It's like, you don't know what's going to happen. Really? I don't? Because I fucking felt that shit coming.
Yes.
I knew something was off.
Yeah.
The problem was me not listening to it because I've been fucking told not to listen to that.
Exactly.
But to accept the gaslight of society that says something else. You know,
it is definitely a choice to do that. But once you do start believing your spirit guides, instead of the fact that people say you don't have spirit guides, the position within yourself shifts, and that weight that you've been carrying on your shoulders for so long, you know that you actually have people I say people, beings to share it with.
Yeah.
And so it allows you to really focus on that connecting once again. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm feeling so emotional right now because it feels like, I think, yeah, like this is the work. So, back to, it's like, you totally have to, oh, someone's going. Have a nice day. Yes.
bye.
From Washington. Love you. 42. Yeah. But I think it's like when you give yourself permission to go in that place often enough, it's like I have a tree in my mind I go to. It's the same one. Sometimes she's different, but I know it's her.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a cave and there's a temple and there's I have these places in myself that I go to for certain things. And when I just think creating that really, and if you're not somebody who can go and visualize that way, right? I've run into a lot of people who I work with who are like, cannot visualize.
It's very hard for some people to do that.
Yeah.
And you'll find a lot of times those people don't have dreams either.
Right. Or I always think it's like I don't know. It's possible that there's no, my son told me that when he reads books, he doesn't visualize anything. He doesn't see pictures. And I was like, what?
How do you get into the story then?
He doesn't, right? He doesn't do that. Like he likes graphic novels and some different things.
Got it.
But so it's one of those where, but I do believe that there's a way in, and your way in is not going to be my way in, your way in, right? It's like,
yeah.
So
it's very different for everyone.
I think, but you do have a way in is what I know it. We were not given these bodies, these tools, these energy centers. We were not given this in order to hold our body, hold our consciousness just as a, and even people, people on the spectrum, different things that are going on with your physical body. I still think there's a way, and it's just maybe you'll be the first person who gets that way for yourself, and it's like no one else experiences that, but that's just what it is. So,
I find that in the beginning when you're questioning, just say you're questioning your intuitive ability, I find just playing little tricks, little games is good. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so who's going to call me today? Okay, that red light's going to turn green right now. You know what I'm saying? Like that. Just simple little things. And once you start playing those games, you start realizing, I am feeling these things. I'm trusting what I'm feeling. Oh, okay. So let's go a little bit deeper into that. You know what I mean? So sometimes getting into yourself and really working on that connecting, that grounding, that intuitive building only takes fun in the beginning. Yes. So just think about it that way too. Yeah. And with that, I got to go make my kids some goddamn lunch because you know how it is working from home, Mom.
Well, I really appreciate you and I love you and I miss you.
I love you.
And I can't wait to hug you and kiss your cheeks when we see each other in real life sometime.
Yes, girl.
But next Tuesday, same.
Next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Painted Goddess and the Old Tree. We're on.
Yes, we're going to do
it. All right.
Okay.
I love you, baby.
I love you. Bye. Thanks for watching, everyone. All right.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.